All right. Good afternoon, or I guess early evening for those of you on the East Coast. The Irish Hammer here with you, along with special guest, good friend, and I'm just going to be honest. I'd say this if he wasn't sitting here. One of the brightest minds in college basketball that we can have access to without having to pay for autographs and that kind of thing. And that's Hunter Sansom. Hunter is the creator, owner, and operating body of Sansom Media Group. And Hunter, as I've told you before, I will say it again, my friend, it is a absolute thrill and pleasure for me to have you sitting here to share some knowledge and some insight on what college basketball looks like and may look like in the future. So welcome, glad to have you. And again, thank you for taking time to be here with us.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Just wanted to start with that. And thanks for the kind words. Greatly appreciate it. Happy to be here. Like Irish said, Sansom Sports Media, I kind of started this in 2023. It's popped off pretty quickly. Seems to have some traction. Love talking hoops. Love being able to kind of just talk and banter. I know with you and Josh, specifically with the Tennessee fans, we have a lot of fun on Twitter. But also have my own podcast, Sansom Sports Media Podcast. So happy to always take questions. Always happy to hop on podcasts with people and happy to talk ball.
Absolutely. So kind of give us a little bit, peel the top off a little bit of what Sansom Media Group entails, because I'm familiar. Obviously, we've had a lot of interaction over the last, little while, but there may be some folks out there that just not real sure exactly what it is you do. If you just tell us a little bit about that, what that entails and what you are kind of trying to deliver to folks out in the Twitterverse.
Yeah. So not just on Twitter anymore, have expanded over to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of those. Sansom Sports Media will get you there. Always like to start with that. Those are smaller pages I don't use as much. But what I'm here for is I'm a fan. I'm a nurse by trade. I am not a journalist. I'm not sitting here pretending to have all of the insider information about every program in the country. I really want to be able to give analysis and breakdowns of college basketball, college football, and coming soon college baseball to all of these fans on Twitter who may not want to just sit here and talk about what a Ken Palm ranking is or whatever. Let's talk about the eye test. Let's talk about what teams are actually doing on the court while also keeping into account, hey, X, Y, and Z are going on that the committee's looking at and being able to help bridge that gap. I think when I got started in all of this, there was nobody really doing that. Everybody's trying to just speak high level and keep things above people's heads. And I don't want to talk down to people. I want to talk with people. And I've really just tried to make that kind of my mission throughout. And like I said, we're adding college baseball, started college football this year. And I also cover Northern Kentucky Norse, kind of like a beat writer for them as well.
It's fantastic. And I can speak specifically to what you just said about not talking down to people, talking with people, because that's one of the things that really kind of drew me to your material was, I kind of got introduced to you through Reckham Matt, our Texas Tech buddy, who unfortunately keeps coming up as the bridesmaid, but
yeah,
they're pouring a bunch of money into football. I'm sure they'll continue that across all their athletic programs. So it won't be long, Matt. Hang in there, buddy. But one of the things that really drew me to what you presented was, especially later as we get closer and closer to conference tournament time and, of course, NCAA tournament time, was how you did break that down. Like it's not just a ranking. It's not just a number. It's not just the AP or the coaches. There's so many pieces that go into determining what the seeding is going to look like and what teams need to do to be able to reach the tournament or get a number one or a number two, which region they're going to be placed in. And you do a phenomenal job of making that understandable. And basic is a compliment, not an insult, that you really do present it to anybody that is just a fan of college basketball but may not understand the depth that it goes. You do a phenomenal job presenting that. So everybody heard all the Twitters and the TikToks and all that stuff. So make sure you track Hunter down. He'll give you all that stuff later, but just make sure you follow him, because I'm telling you, man, if you're any kind of fan of college basketball, you're going to want to keep up with what Hunter gives us over the course of the next few months. So with that said, because I think, right now it's all about conference play and trying to get positioned for conference tournaments. And obviously everybody's still looking for the big prize, and that's the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely.
But we got a lot of time between now and really, we call it March Madness. It really spills over now into April.
Yeah.
By the time we get to there, I know a lot of people really do. They jump into brackets and do their bracket challenges and all that stuff. But Hunter, what is it that you look at when you put out your rankings? Or, what are some of the elements? What are some of the things that you look at and in how you weigh certain metrics or how you weigh certain, input as far as polls, KenPom, net, things like that? Just, if you would, just tell it to us like we're 5 and we've never heard of bracketology before.
Absolutely. So you mentioned KenPom, you mentioned the net. So just to kind of go back up just a little bit, there's the net, which is the NCAA's evaluation tool. It sorts teams into quadrants. So that gives you your quad 1, 2, 3, and 4 wins. Those are just, as they seem, quad 1's the best, quad 4's terrible. If you lose quad 4 games, you're in trouble. Think of that like when Tennessee played Northern Kentucky this year. It's a really bad game. It's not something that you should lose. You should win. It's a tune-up. It's your bye games. Quad 3, you have some bye game teams in there. You start getting into decent competition. Think like your South Carolina when you play them at home or something like that for Tennessee fans and SEC fans, really. And then quad 2s are your solid teams, maybe your tournament or your bubble type teams. And then quad 1s are those really elite teams like Tennessee playing Florida on Saturday, playing Arkansas last week. Those are your games that you really want to win. Those are the ones that are going to just rocket you up the seed list and kind of the gold standard. With that, I'll post this, Josh, in the comment, or not Josh, sorry. I'll post this down in the comments here in a little bit. But I've got the ranking breakdowns in a graphic for you guys that I'll be able to just kind of post, and that way you all have it. But think of it 1 through 30 at home for quad 1, 1 through 75 on the road for quad 1, and then quad 2 goes 75 to 135. So that's just how you break down the quadrants. I won't go through all of the nitty gritty, but like I said, you're really those quad 1 and 2 games is what you're looking for in the tournament picture. Then you have your predictive metrics. You've got KenPom, Bart Torvik, and then your BPI. BPI is ESPN's model. I'm not as big of a fan of BPI as I am KenPom or Torvik. They seem to have outliers more frequently. They don't seem to align with what the committee does, what shows up on the court, or really what we just kind of see from KenPom and Torvik as well. KenPom and Torvik are great. They're predictive. So they're not necessarily looking at what you're doing on the court. They're looking at how you're going to perform in the future. So they're using the performances to kind of guide what they think will happen. Now, you do have 3 sets of metrics that do resume-based as well. There's your KPI, which is ESPN's as well. Again, an outlier. I really don't like KPI. And then you've got strength of record and wins above bubble. I love both strength of record and wins above bubble. They really do a great job in calculating what your record looks like and not just saying, oh, you're 11-2. That's really, really good. It actually evaluates each individual win to give you that kind of breakdown. Wins above bubble. If you're a positive number and wins above bubble, that's saying that you've won this many more games than the average bubble team would. Or if you're negative, you're below what an average bubble team would do. So when you do bracketology, you have to weigh all 3 of those kinds of aspects that I just talked about. You've got your quad records with the net, you've got your predictives, and you've got your resume. There's not a formula that I can give you that is going to just automatically predict the committee. The committee are people. They're not using metrics to feed teams. They are using themselves. So it is subjective. Look at West Virginia last year, Texas, North Carolina, Xavier all getting in last year. It's very subjective and can be controversial at times. So we try to just really use that to help kind of guide what we predict and predict based off of trends previously. Industry. Okay. I love this question. It's going to vary based on what person you talk to. And this kind of comes down to what we're looking at as it being subjective. So at the Vol Truther, great question. There is not an industry standard. I would argue that KenPom is your predictive industry standard just because it's what's used kind of the most frequently and what you'll see referenced the most. I would argue that strength of record is probably your industry standard for your resume metrics as well. But that wins above bubbles, a newer metric, but it's coming on strong and I really like it.
Awesome. Outstanding. So just to sort of piggyback on what Vol Truther said. So when you're evaluating and getting ready to put out, because you'll probably hear before too long, you'll give us your first bracketology model. What do you weigh more, or do you look at everything equal? I know you mentioned there's some metrics and measurements that you prefer over others. How does what you do compare to, say, I mean, whoever at ESPN, Joe Lunardi, for an example? Like, what should we look for? Should we value more over maybe something else that we probably don't?
Yeah. So generally when I'm doing a bracket, and I will add, brackets come out on Monday mornings. They'll be out every Monday throughout the season. They'll go to bi-weekly here probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then they'll be daily headed up towards conference tournament time. But with that being said, I would average, if I'm an average fan just kind of like wanting to know, I would average the metrics. So the predictives and the resume metrics, take the averages. You're looking for those. I mean, if you're wanting to be in the tournament, you really want those to be above 50 on both sides. If you're kind of wanting to lean into one over the other, I really like the strength of record and wins above bubble. I think those do great at kind of telling you where your team stands right now. And then you can't go wrong with KenPom. It's like I talked about, it's been around for a while. It's got a proven track record. So those are the three I would kind of focus on. But really, almost the quad one wins are your most important metric at this point. You want quad ones. You want to stay away from any losses outside of there. So it's a three-part answer. But that would be kind of what I'm looking at if I'm a fan, just trying to kind of keep track.
Right. Yeah. And quad ones and net seem to be the two things that we talk about the most, because the polls really, again, they're subjective. You've got assistant information or athletic information directors and some writer's secretary filling out these ballots and sending them in. So I don't ever really consider that to hold too much weight. But when we start getting into the quad ones and we start looking at net rankings, I feel like that's where you've got to have some of those things. And there's kind of a magic formula over the last several years that comes out of that net ranking with, you got to be top 20 in defense. You got to be top 30 in offense. And that seems to be pretty consistent with who ends up winning the national championship.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
Please do.
You're right on. That is the KenPom. So when you're looking at that, you'll want to use KenPom, and I'm going to reference when we talk some teams here in a little bit. The net is genuine, and I have to stress this to a lot of fans over the year. It is just a sorting tool. It is not a power ranking. So even though Tennessee has a number, that number doesn't mean anything for Tennessee. It means something for Arkansas, who's beaten Tennessee. It means something for Florida, who gets to play Tennessee on Saturday, but it doesn't mean anything for Tennessee personally. Your opponent's net matters more. But then when you get to KenPom, you want your number to be higher. You want to be in that top 10 or 20 and 30, like you were talking about, to be a national title contender.
Okay, good. Yeah, because see, that's something that I was doing wrong. So
no, you are perfectly fine.
So just curious, like, do you have some type of magic algorithm that you pump all this information into? Do you use like a spreadsheet, sort it, weight it? To just, if you would, just share how you arrive at your numbers.
So I am not great with using formulas in Excel and things. It's been kind of a challenge for me. I am actually working, I'm kind of in the background right now on a formula that will theoretically rank all 1 through 360, whatever we end up with next year. I'm testing it in the background this year with a formula that plugs in all of these different metrics and gives you a ranking for your team. It's not public yet because I'm still testing and making changes, but having some pretty good kind of feedback for now, and we'll be moving forward with that next year. I do use that in the background a little bit, but honestly, I'm comparing teams 1-to-1. I'm putting UConn, I'm putting Iowa State up side by side. I'm looking at their entire sheet, all of the things we've talked about, and looking through each individual team as I build a bracket. I go about 75 or so teams deep right now, just taking them one by one to make sure I'm not missing anybody.
Yeah, because it seems to keep growing. We've gone from 64 to 68. Where do you think it goes next? Does it continue to get bigger? Do you think we hit 72?
I think we'll hit 70. I think we'll hit 72 or 76 in the next couple of years. I also don't hate the idea of going to 72 if we're going to add games in the first four. I just don't want to mess with what we already have in date or in the actual tournament. So I want to get down to 64 teams and do the classic tournament like we do. But if we add play-in games, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I guess I'm kind of traditional in the sense that, I may have been alive when 32 was the tournament, but I'm not going to admit that. And two, 64 is when I first really got into college basketball, it was 64.
Yeah.
So for me, all the, I guess, play-in games, to me, they're a little silly because the season's the play-in to get the tournament, right?
Agreed.
So, it's got to stop at some point because if you have 64 teams, then Team 65 is going to be pissed.
Yes.
If you have 72 teams, Team 73 is going to be pissed. So we can make it 120. Somebody's still going to get left
121
out.
will be angry. Yes.
121 is going to be pissed. So
exactly. Look at football. I mean, Vanderbilt's pissed that they didn't get in. They had opportunity. Yeah. You're going to have it regardless of what you do every single year.
Yeah. So there's always going to be that little group of bubble teams that either get the big sigh of relief or they get their hopes and dreams crushed forever because, they didn't make it in. So I'm going to jump ahead real quick 1 second while we're on the topic of, so if you had to give me a Final Four prediction right now, based on eye test, which we know is critically important because sometimes numbers don't lie, but sometimes numbers paint a false picture.
Yes.
So based on eye test, where you feel the numbers put together, spit out, who would you say right now today on January the 8th should we be looking for to possibly make that Final Four run?
I think there's two obvious picks in Michigan and Arizona. I mean, anybody that's paid attention to college basketball right now, they're both having historic seasons. Both of them are clearly 1 and 2 for me right now. Clearly, I would pick them in the Final Four. I put UConn, Texas Tech, and Houston down. Same with Alabama. Those are kind of the teams I'm debating. If you're right now, Alabama is not healthy, so I'll eliminate them for the moment. Houston, I think, still has some work to do, but they are improving. So I'm going to go with UConn and Texas Tech as to round that out. I know I've got 3-1 seeds. It just feels like a top-heavy type of year. I do think Texas Tech has kind of coming together and just really impressing me, especially Toppin and Anderson. Just what they do on the court together is phenomenal. I think the SEC is going to be a challenge this year. I think there's a lot of good teams, but I don't know that there's the Florida from last year or that really, really elite team. I think that's part of the reason the conference is being talked about is a little bit down. And I also don't know if I trust UConn to get there because they're going to play so many bad teams in the next 2 months before they get there.
Yeah. And when you look at, because we started conference play, obviously, but when you start getting into the kind of the meat of the conference schedule, and especially some of these conferences like the Big 12, the Big 10, they're pretty much dominating all like the net rankings, the Ken Palm, things like that. So it certainly looks like those two conferences are kind of driving the bus right now. But, anything can happen. We know that.
Yes.
And nobody can predict injuries.
Exactly.
Which is, which can be, basketball is one of those sports that one player can make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
We've seen it with Louisville and
Michael
even
Brown.
Tennessee,
Yes.
to some degree, because, Mikael Brown being out, they're a totally different team. And we were fortunate when we played them that we didn't have to deal with him.
Yeah.
Walter Clayton last year for Florida, like that one guy, when he's not in the lineup, it makes a massive difference. So yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to pick your brain about a little bit. The other thing I wanted to touch on and get your thoughts, because obviously you're speaking to an SEC, team fan here. I'm not a conference fan. I don't care about them other 15 jokers. I care about the one. But in looking beyond like those obvious, the Michigans, the Arizonas, Nebraska, Vanderbilt, some of the teams that are still, undefeated after we've gotten into conference play, outside of those teams, maybe is there a mid-major out there, which I think we still consider Gonzaga a mid-major, right?
So
Technically,
yes, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to exclude Gonzaga, St. Mary's, just because that's cheating at this point. I do think I know a lot of people will try to call the Mountain West a power conference. I'm not going to go that far. They're down this year. It's not a great conference. I do think Utah State is very good,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Boise, if the committee doesn't punish them too heavily, is a really interesting team that I think could make some noise. But they did lose the non D1 game, and I have no idea how the committee is going to handle that. So that's going to be an interesting case study as we go down the stretch. One other team that I'd be remiss to not talk about is St. Louis. What Shirts is doing there. I know a lot of my Cincinnati fans here locally are begging for Shirts to come to Cincinnati next year. I would agree he's very good, and I think that St. Louis team can win a game, maybe two, in the tournament this year.
Yeah, they look really good, and I believe aren't they like 24th or something in one of those rankings? I may have a number off there.
Oh, you're good.
They were surprisingly good.
They've been definitely up there.
In the net,
that's 24.
Net has them 24.
Yeah.
So definitely a team. I think I think it makes a noise. Certainly in their conference, their tournament. But whenever they get to the dance, and we all know that styles make fights, right? Yeah. Because we've seen, and I'm going to pick on Kentucky a little bit because, well, I can. We've seen the Oaklands and the St. Peters of the world come in and as 15 seeds. Yeah. I hope Rando's watching this. We've seen them come in and just, shoot the lights out of the gym and take down some of these powers. And Kentucky comes to mind because, it's been a joke about,
As
they
it should
hadn't gotten out of the first round or first weekend in, years. And they finally did. And of course we had to put them out of their misery last year. But are there any of those teams out there that you think, based on who you may project as 1-2 seeds, that, maybe this not going to be as strong, and maybe one of these small conference winners comes in and can shock somebody? What would be those teams maybe to look for this year?
I mean, I think if you're looking for a team that I think's ripe for an upset, I know, and Vanderbilt looked great last night. I understand that they did shoot 90 free throws in that game.
Ridiculous.
Alabama basically played without three guys that are key for them. I like Vanderbilt. I am not here to slander Vanderbilt. I love what they've done this year.
I am.
You can. I will. I figured this group would be okay with this. While I think they've proven themselves enough, I do think they're the kind of team that foul trouble, I mean, especially Duke Miles getting in foul trouble like he did last night, just stupid fouls, could really just dampen them. And a team like Oakland sitting there, they are a poor record because they've played Michigan, Purdue, like all of these huge teams. And I mean, I saw them play Purdue at Mackey, and they almost beat them. And I mean, they looked the part the entire time. So an Oakland or somebody like that over a Vanderbilt, or I don't know, a BYU with an off night, or maybe Houston in a rock fight, I could see any of that happening.
Yeah. I think there's always those first and second round kind of surprises, Cinderellas, if you will. And those are always hard to predict because you never know what the matchup's going to be. And most of the time, we may be familiar with the school or the record, a big signature win that they had the regular season, but we really don't understand and know how those teams play without really, digging in, watching some film, some games, things like that. So it's always good to somebody that's in the know, an expert in this field, to kind of have those teams to look at. So just get your thoughts too on something as you kind of, we kind of look through some of I pay a lot of attention to net this time of year.
Yeah, as you should.
So, and I'm seeing just so many of these blue blood type schools like UCLA. They're struggling. Kentucky's struggling. St. John's is struggling. Teams like Creighton and Stanford and teams that we've seen be really good for a very long time. Even Kansas has 4 losses right now.
Yeah.
Is this just simply a product of NIL has kind of the same that's done in college football? Because if you look, if you told me 5 years ago that Miami, Oregon, Ole Miss, and Indiana would be a Final Four in college football, I'd have told you to get a new crack dealer or something, because there's no way that's ever going to happen.
Yes.
And yet here we sit with that. So are we looking at the same thing in basketball? Is it going to be the haves and the have-nots, and we're going to see some people that rise up that have never really been good in basketball, i.e. Vanderbilt, all of a sudden get to the point where they're a contender?
I don't think it's necessarily just a product of NIL. I mean, look at who Vanderbilt hired. I'm going to go straight to Vandy on this one. They remind me a lot of Indiana in football, as does Nebraska right now. Both of them not necessarily traditionally great. Both of them undefeated this year, having standout seasons. And this is their second year of doing it, which is they're on their second year of doing it as well. I think it's more you're seeing coaching turnover. So, I mean, look at Williams, Coach K. I mean, all of these coaches in the ACC moving on. And then you're seeing some new up-and-coming coaches like Bennington kind of jumping up and being really good. But then you're also seeing teams get money, and these players that were traditionally staying down in your UC Irvines or your small schools getting to transfer up and getting that chance. And these guys who were 2- and 3-star recruits actually play good basketball and are getting that shot, and the portal's making it accessible for them. So yes and no. I think this is one of the good things of NIL and the portal, but it needs to be regulated or it's going to get really twisted really quickly.
Yeah. I mean, we've already seen some of the ugly side of that in football, and I was talking with somebody a couple of days ago, and I referenced it as it's starting to look like Major League Baseball, where, I mean, because look what the Dodgers have done.
Yes.
Look what the Yankees do every year, even though it doesn't seem to work out as well for them. And then you still got like the Pirates sitting there that there's guys there's 4 players on the Mets that have a higher salary than like 5 of all of Major League Baseball teams.
Exactly.
It's just stupid, the money that's going on out here. So I agree with you there. Where there's, if we're gonna act like a professional organization and we're going to pay players like professionals, then we need to have some kind of professional structure around the salary. Because just like in football, unfortunately, Peabody, I refer to Vanderbilt as Peabody, Peabody College is how they got started. So, they did the same thing in football. So, obviously that kids today, unfortunately, play more for the name on the back of the jersey than they do on the front. But at the same time, I'll be honest with you, if, somebody came along and offered me 15, 20 times my salary where I work right now, I'd probably be gone tomorrow.
Exactly.
So can't blame these kids. It's not their fault that this has come to light. So, and there's so many good players at the G5 level or the mid-major level or even Division II level. Because I think basketball is that one sport that the size, the speed, the things like that make football so disparaging sometimes between, especially like lines of scrimmage. If you've got, all your offensive linemen are 6'8", 350, and they're going up against an average of 270-pound defensive line, well, you don't have a chance, right?
You're done. Yeah.
Yeah. Basketball, a quick first step, good handles on the ball and a sweet step back jumper. That's a great equalizer for a lot of things. So I said all that to say, so who are some of these mid-major players that we need to kind of maybe keep an eye on, or maybe not even mid-major, maybe just guys not named Cameron Boozer, player of the year type players? Who are some of those guys for you as we start the spotlight starts shining on some of these awards in the postseason?
Yeah. So mid-major players, I am unfortunately, it is very difficult to cover 300 teams and be able to speak truthfully to all of them. So I am definitely out of my scope when it comes to individual players and transfer portal up and things. I know there's a lot of great athletes and some really good shooting in the Horizon League because I follow and I cover that. I will say that there are a lot of different transfers that are going to come from that, the CAA, that kind of thing. So definitely guys you need to keep an eye on. You should definitely be watching games, kind of keeping track of some of these guys. But I would just encourage you to just watch some games, see what happens, kind of follow along with some scores, some of the guys scoring some of the higher end of the leagues, and just seeing what happens. With that, though, some guys that I would kind of keep an eye on from a player of the year standpoint, I'm going to start with Michigan's Yaxel Lindenberg. I mean, he came from UAB. That's why I kind of wanted to start with him. He transferred up. He's now getting his shot. He is averaging 15, 7, and 4 or 3, playing really good ball on an undefeated top team in the country. This is what we want to see out of the portal. He's doing it the right way. He stayed with UAB. He moved up. He's now playing and getting his shot. Also, I mean, you've got your freshmen, you've got your Cam Boozers, you've got guys like AJ DeBansa, who he's averaging 23 and 7. Feels like he's kind of quiet for what I was expecting out of him. Not necessarily saying he's bad, just kind of he's actually living up to the hype a little bit, I think. Not going to talk about Boozer. Acuff with Arkansas is another guy. I know you guys got very familiar with him last week, but he's played really well. He's been impressive. And I am not a Kentucky fan. I, of course, have to follow Kentucky being here. But I will add this Arkansas team feels a lot like the Kentucky teams that do really, really well for Coach Calipari. So just wanted to throw that out there as my plug for them. And then one guy I'll round it out with, Joshua Jefferson there at Iowa State. Playing some really, really good basketball, averaging 18, 8, and 5, and really leading an underrated Iowa State team. They're undefeated right now. They're flying under the radar because you've got the high stories of Michigan or Arizona. You've got Miami of Ohio undefeated in the MAC, and then you've got Nebraska and Vanderbilt taking all the headlines. But Iowa State's just plugging away 15-0, just dominating competition and just doing it their way right now. And Jefferson's a big piece of that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, come on, man. There's 300 teams. What do you mean you can't cover them all? Jeez. Dude, I do good to keep up with the 16 in the Southeastern Conference. So there's one guy I will throw out there that I really like, and that's Dior Johnson. Oh, he's a guard at Tarleton State. Dude's averaging 23 a game. He's 6'3". He's fast. His ball handling is crazy. And he can do something that we're missing this year, and that's create his own shot.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there's any like pro projection for him, but if not, this guy's going to be on some Power 5 team next year, and he's going to be a baller. So
he'll be the guy that gets way too much money to go to some school. I don't know what school that's going to be, but he will be that guy that gets a crap ton of money thrown at him in early April. Yeah.
Yeah, he is special. So you mentioned DeBansa at BYU, 6'9", 23 points a game.
Yeah.
7 rebounds, I think it was.
7 or 8, yeah, something like that.
Dude can score from anywhere on the floor. We over in Knoxville have a kid, Nate Ament.
Yes.
That was supposed to be that guy for us. And I'm not saying he's not that guy, but thus far, I think a lot of folks would look at Nate and think that he's not lived up to expectation. And whether that's a fair expectation or not, perception's reality. Jacoby Gillespie, on the other hand, the transfer from Maryland, has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
What's your view on, and not necessarily, I'm not asking you to pick Nate's game apart and bash him or anything like that, but tell me what would a freshman, highly touted freshman coming in, what would he struggle with that would prevent him from being that guy? And is he going to be able to put together a good enough season to still go first round in the NBA?
All right, so Vol Truther, unfortunately, he's young and just not that guy right now. Perfect recap. You're going to get criticized, absolutely warranted. Amit is a great player. He is going to be a really good player eventually. It is just going to take time. A lot of the time, it takes time to get used to the physicality and having athletes on your level. I know a lot of these guys play AAU all over the country and things like that, but you're still not getting challenged like you are in college basketball, especially when you start getting into the SEC and some of these physical, just really high intensity games. It's hard to keep up. I mean, we've seen him struggle with foul trouble and just kind of like reaching towards players and just being a step behind at times, I think. I mean, he's still averaging 15, 7, and 3, so let's not, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's playing horribly. I do think he probably does get a first-round draft pick. Whether he wants to come back or not is up to him. I think he'll be drafted on his talent and kind of the perception of what he can be, rather than what he's done at Tennessee this year. I mean, again, I think he would do better to come back to college, come back to Knoxville next year, and develop and become that guy and go as a lottery pick.
Yeah, I would agree. And the early assessment that I gave, can't remember. I think it was actually on the Border Rivals podcast. It wasn't even on my show. That I don't see him. He probably would be just because of his metrics as far as his size and whatnot. I think he probably would still be a draft pick, but I don't see him as that today. Now maybe that changes over the course of the season, and that 15 turns up to 21 or 22, and maybe that all changes. Maybe he has a fantastic tournament, SEC tournament, NCAA tournament run. Who knows? And I don't want to, trash the kid. That's not what I do. But I won't say concerning. I think surprising more than anything, because we're seeing some of these other really highly touted freshmen come in like DeMansa and just be phenomenal. And I think part of, and Truther just said it, I was just about to say this.
Yeah.
You've got a 17, 18-year-old kid who's not fully grown into that big 6'11" frame.
Yes.
And we saw against Louisville and we saw against Arkansas, he had trouble getting to his spot because he's not physical enough. And I think part of that's because he's not big enough. And
Agreed.
That's one of the problems, especially when you rely so much on freshmen, and especially in college football is this way. But I think it's more and more getting this way with basketball as well, because you've got 17, 18, 19-year-old kids coming in, and they're playing against sometimes 22, 23, 24-year-old men who could compete in the NBA, but because of transfer rules and whatever else, they're still playing college basketball for 6-7 years. So that's a challenge as well. So I know a lot of people, and I ask this question more for the fan base than myself, because I know a lot of people are kind of, I don't want to say soured on Nate Ament, but they're disappointed with what they've seen for the reason that False Truther just said. I mean, when we pay these guys, we expect them to perform, right?
Yes.
So hopefully that turns, because a couple of the things that I think we're struggling with turnovers. We're struggling at the free throw line, and those are just two things that we haven't seen from Rick Barnes' teams. Yeah. And then here we've got this phenom that, again, perception's reality, and the perception is that he's not living up to the hype.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. If you put this jersey on, man, I'm going to love you, pull for you, but it does sometimes make you kind of scratch your head and think, what did we do? What did we get ourselves into?
How much are you spending for this and it not working?
Yeah. So, and unfortunately, that's the nature right now of college athletics, be it, football, baseball, basketball, makes no difference. When you start giving paychecks out, then the expectations clearly become a little bit more glaring.
Yeah.
So what do you think as far as conference, what we're going to see from like maybe the Power Five? Who are your conference champion teams, and who do you think maybe is going to surprise some people? Nebraska certainly has been a surprise. Like, I don't think anybody saw that coming.
No.
We being Tennessee folks, we feared that Peabody would be kind of good because we stole Jalen Carey from him, and I don't know if they just didn't utilize him right. I don't know if he had issues, couldn't get him on the floor as much, but he's been phenomenal for us. So maybe some surprise teams, some dark horses to win a conference, and who do you think Power Five conference winners are going to be?
So, kind of starting with the Big Ten, we talked about Nebraska just now. I mean, I saw them play Ohio State on Monday night, coming off a short rest. That team is good, and they do the winning things. That being said, they're probably a sleeper still in the conference because Michigan and Purdue are just a step ahead. Right now, it's Michigan, Purdue, everybody else. So I'll take Michigan to win it. For sleepers, I mean, give me like an Illinois or something could get hot and make some noise, I think. So I'll go with them. It just feels very top heavy this year. The bottom of the Big Ten doesn't necessarily impress me too much. And this is the year that if they can't get to the Final Four, I don't know that the Big Ten's ever going to get there. There's no
Yeah.
reason Purdue or Michigan should not be in the Final Four this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope Purdue doesn't just because. And Michigan, yeah, it's funny because you mentioned Yaxel because he was UAB, and I can't say expertise or forte because I suck at this too. But a lot of my material and stuff, especially during football season, revolves around sports betting and things like that. So I rode him like a government mule the last 2 seasons at UAB, man. This dude cashed me so many tickets on points and rebounds and PRA, combo stats, things like that. The guy's phenomenal. And you surround him, and I think he is every bit of what Michigan fans were hoping they were going to get out of the other kid. What's the other kid's name that transferred to Kansas or from Kansas?
Dickinson.
Yes. Yeah. He was. I didn't like him. But I think he is Yaxel is playing phenomenal. So one of the conferences that everybody always talks about, pays attention to because of the strength that it's always had historically, and that's the ACC.
Yeah.
Is it Duke or bust for the ACC, or is there somebody that can jump up and smack them?
I mean, I think North Carolina could definitely smack them at this point. It's Duke's to lose, absolutely. But North Carolina's impressed me this year. I didn't trust Hubert Davis coming into the season, was kind of lower on them, kind of like I was on Vanderbilt. But it's Duke's conference right now, but UNC is kind of there in the middle where I don't know what to necessarily think of them. I think Louisville, SMU, Clemson, Wake Forest even are all really solid teams. Virginia Tech and then Virginia again, it's very solid this year compared to last year. My sleeper team's probably Virginia. Louisville's not healthy. We talked about Michael Brown being out for the Tennessee game. I don't know how long he's going to be out. It's a back injury that's lingering. It could be a while, but I'll take Duke to win it. I'll take Virginia as a sleeper and just kind of everybody else there.
Okay. Yep. I like that. I'm with you. I don't know that Hubert Davis is the answer for North Carolina. I don't know if he can get them there. Big 12. That's going to be pretty competitive.
Yeah.
Got a lot of good teams.
I mean,
who you like in there?
Right now, it's Arizona and Iowa State. They're both undefeated. I'm going to put them in like the tier 1A by themselves. Mm-hmm. Also, right on their heels, though, I mean, you've got BYU, Houston, and Texas Tech. All three are very, very good. I don't think you're going to see a sleeper come out and even get close to winning this conference. It's going to come from one of those teams I just listed.
Oh, yeah.
If you're looking for a sleeper, UCF has been sneaky good this year. I've really liked watching them play, and they just play a fun style of ball. Kansas is almost an afterthought in the conference for the first time, I think, since I've been alive. But that being said, I mean, Peterson being hurt, they just don't seem to have it. I think Self has lost a step. And I don't think Kansas is that team this year. But I'll take Arizona to win it. I think Pete, Bradley, and everybody are just too good, and they'll get it done.
Yeah, I don't disagree. They've kind of been brewing for a few seasons now, and this looks like maybe their best team they've had in quite some time, probably since Lute Olson days.
Yes.
So yeah, I think they're definitely going to be. I think they're going to win the Big 12, but I think they're going to go pretty far in this tournament as well.
Agreed.
Are we safe to say that Gonzaga is going to win the West Coast and UConn is going to win the Big East? Like, is there really anybody who's going to challenge them this year?
Gonzaga, I think St. Mary's can put up a fight like they normally do. But again, I heavily lean Gonzaga. That being said, it's a bit of a toss-up when they play twice for St. Mary's in them. So maybe St. Mary's gets lucky and pulls off 2 wins or something like that. Gonzaga loses a freak game or something.
Yeah.
But I would say Gonzaga is the favorite. The Big East has to go to UConn. I mean, you've got Creighton, maybe for Villanova back there. I mean, I'm a Big East guy. Xavier, you can see Xavier stuff in my background.
Yeah.
Xavier's not even anywhere close to anything, so I'm not even going to talk about them. But you've got Creighton, you've got Villanova, you've got St. John's, Butler maybe. Seton Hall has very much so impressed me a ton this year, but it's UConn's conference to lose.
Yeah, I think so too. And like you said, there may be somebody that, they have their best shooting night ever and UConn just doesn't show up to play or, stayed out too late partying or something. I don't know. But that's going to be very, very few and far between. So speaking of UConn, if we could just touch on this a little bit, and I saw this and I didn't get to dig into it very much. Did I see that Dan Hurley could possibly be facing a suspension for interactions?
You did see
officials?
that. It is fake.
Okay.
Unfortunately, with the proliferation of social media, you have the proliferation of all these fake accounts that make it impossible to figure out what's going on.
Yes.
The account you saw was Rob Reinhart. It is a fake account. He posts things to just get engagement. So Dan Hurley's not getting suspended.
Okay, yeah, I had trouble believing that, and like I said, I didn't take the time to dig into it very much because I thought, what? But I knew if anybody would know, you would know. So I'm glad I asked. So, so that kind of brings us to I know what a lot of folks watching are going to be curious to hear what you have to say about this one. And that, of course, is the SEC, defending champion Florida. I hate saying that. They've got a lot of work to do if they're going to repeat, I would believe.
Yes, they do.
Don't you agree? Yeah. So with that said, how do you think this thing's going to shake out? Because I just refuse as a diehard Tennessee fan, alumnus of the school. I refuse to sit here and believe, Hunter, that Peabody is going to win this conference. So let's take them out of it because they don't have a chance. What's the SEC going to shape up at the end of March?
If we're kicking Peabody out, as you call them, Arkansas and Alabama have to be A and B there at the top. And then Tennessee's probably right there with them. The only reason I'm giving Arkansas and Bama the credit is I think Bama is a Final Four caliber team and the best team in the conference, even though they are only going to get Vandy once, and that game did not go their way last night.
Yeah.
Arkansas, I do think, is very good. They have the win already over you guys, so I'm going to put those two kind of in that top tier with Peabody, unfortunately for you. And I'll say Tennessee's right there behind them with Florida, with, Mizzou maybe. I don't really know who's in that second tier. The SEC is kind of a mess at this point, to be honest with you.
I feel the same way. I think it's very muddled. I mean, obviously Vanderbilt is standing tall right now. And I was just about to, Fall Truther, get out of my head, brother.
He is on it.
He is, man. What do you think about Georgia? I kind of drank the Kool-Aid a little bit until this week.
Yeah. So they played Xavier. They only beat Xavier by a point. I got to see them play pretty closely. I am not as big onto Georgia as others are. I think they're very streaky. They're going to kind of live and by. I'm not just by the three, but they are going to play a fast tempo. They're very athletic. If they're off from three at night, I think they're going to struggle, especially the way the SEC plays. It's going to be harder to shoot in the conference. Pulling them up now on KenPom to kind of pull some other stats, but I'm not a huge fan of them. I know they're only 32% from three on the year, shooting that 62% from 2 point. I'm not sold yet. They have one win over a team that I would call good, and that's Auburn in overtime at home. I'm not calling Cincinnati good. I'm not calling Xavier good. And none of the other teams are even close to the top 100 of KenPom right now. So I'm going to pump the brakes on the Georgia train just a bit. They got blown out by Florida on the road, obviously, but I'm not super sold on them. So I would put them in that third tier, kind of behind you guys in that second level. Definitely probably a tournament team just because they've already got the 13 wins, but I don't think it's a team that's going to compete at the top.
Yeah, and I think more and more, especially on the road, I think more and more we'll start to see the cracks in their armor and where, because the majority of the defenses in the SEC, they can chase you off that 3-point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Outside of maybe Alabama, the majority of the defenses can limit the damage you're able to do from the perimeter. So
yeah, and Bama's just going to outshoot you from out there. So
that's it.
You can't play that game with them.
You can't, because everybody on the team can shoot threes. So they always find a way to get somebody open and hit that. Yeah. I'm sure you saw it, or at least saw the replay and the clips. The Auburn A&M game. What was your take on the call and that whole situation?
I have seen a handful of clips. I saw it live, but obviously live you can't really see anything. I have a hard time. I don't think that you can get a shot off in 0.6 seconds. I think it like to turn and pivot and shoot. I don't think that's enough time. If he would have caught it and went straight up, sure, but he had to pivot. I don't think there was enough time. I think the ball was still in his hand.
Okay, yeah, because it was really odd because usually, you know, with the technology we have today, with
Yeah.
this freeze frame and slow motion things like that, when you're looking at that from the sideline, it clearly looked like it was out of his hand.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the full court shot with the camera angle behind him, you can kind of see his finger still on the ball.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice with that, it did not look like the backboard clock and the game clock were synced up.
Yeah.
So depending on which camera shot you got one or the other. You did not get both of those in the same frame.
Yeah.
We all know officiating is subject to criticism every single night. There's always somebody blaming the officials for costing us a game. But it was interesting to me that the shot was ruled good on the floor.
Yeah.
Do you feel, just personal opinion, do you feel there was conclusive video evidence to overturn that?
I do not believe so. I mean, I haven't seen any conclusive evidence, and I've seen probably 100 different angles and pictures and screenshots sent to me. So I would say whatever went on the call on the court would have to stand. So I was very surprised they overturned it. I just don't. I think they got it right in the end, but the call in the court, I don't see how we overturn that.
Yeah, that was my thing too. Is it's probably the right call, but there wasn't anything just clear cut, decisive. Yeah, the ball was still in. He still had contact with the ball. I never saw it.
Yep.
So I was really shocked as well that they overturned that, and hopefully those guys got out of Auburn alive and intact.
I think they did, but I haven't heard final confirmation yet.
Man,
I can't believe they made him do an interview after the game. That awful.
Oh, hey, man. Yeah, no kidding. And Auburn just sometimes, man, they just have the absolute worst luck of anybody. And the whole the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah,
we both have this mutual hate for Alabama, so I don't get on Auburn as hard. And of course, I still love Coach Pearl, and I know he's gone now. But even when he was there, man, as long as he wasn't playing us, I pulled for him. So,
exactly. Yeah,
a little bit of a soft spot in my heart there for Auburn.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap up here just a moment. What is your national champion pick? If I gave you $100 and said, Hunter, tell me who you think's going to win it all, who would you put that $100 on?
So before I make my national champ pick, I just want to add, I am not a Kentucky fan here. So I just wanted to call out that Kentucky is, by all accounts right now, about to miss the tournament if they don't change things. I thought your fans might like to hear that. Just wanted to call that out. When I do my bracket on Monday, they will not be in the tournament.
Oh my gosh.
I thought you guys would like to hear that. I know my audience, so I wanted to make sure I got that little bit in there before we wrapped up the SEC.
Y'all heard it here first. Hunter Sansom, no Kentucky in the tournament this year. I don't know how Struther feels about it, but I think he's kind of tickled about that too. So
looks like
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's like the biggest news headline of the day right there. So yes.
By all accounts, there's nothing that looks like a tournament team right now. They might change my mind in 2 weeks, but as of January 8th, they don't look anything like a tournament team at this point. And I think most fans at UK would agree with me at that. But to national champ picks, this is tough. If you gave me $100 and I couldn't split it, I would have a really hard time picking somebody. I'll take Michigan. Mainly because I don't trust Tommy Lloyd in the tournament. They seem to just lose to some random team every year, like Yale. I know Michigan, like Dusty May, doesn't necessarily have that, but the team is just there. I mean, Yaxel with the two front court guys, Morez Johnson and Ade from UCLA, and then the guard play has been much improved. That team's just too well-rounded for me to pick against them right now.
Yeah. They're the shortest odds. In fact, they're the only betting favorite at minus 125. So they're the only team with minus odds right now. Excuse me, that's the Final Four. I apologize. Plus 380 is Michigan. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, I tell you, you mentioned could you split it? I do. I usually bet 5 or 6 teams to win it all. And right now, today, UConn is sitting there at plus 1,000.
That would be my pick if you're
the fourth shortest. Yeah. I really, because Dan Hurley in the tournament, man.
Yes.
If that guy's in high gear, 90-0, all gas, no brakes against, the JV team at a middle school, doesn't make any difference who he's playing.
He's going to win by 200. It's just how he is. Yes. Yeah,
but he is a different beast, man, come tournament time. And right behind him is Purdue and Matt Painter. I'm just not in part. Maybe it's bias against them because of the whole foul mean thing that we ran into a couple years ago. I don't know if I've gotten over that yet, or the touchdown that wasn't against them in the bowl game. Like the history with us in Purdue is long and it's ugly.
Fair.
But I just don't see them getting there. And I know Brendan is phenomenal, but I don't see them getting there. I think Houston, I think Gonzaga. I'm going out on a limb with BYU. I think that's a stretch.
I mean, Houston and BYU both have that common theme of freshmen that are going to continue to develop. So those aren't bad picks at all.
Because they're going to get better as the season goes, we expect, right? And barring injury, that's kind of where I'm looking at it from. If I'm gonna drop some coin on some of these teams, that's kind of who I'm looking at. And I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't way out in left field with that, because I don't like losing money, but I hate being wrong more than anything. So
fair enough. Yeah, I would not. I don't gamble, so there's that aspect too. So I'm not the best person to ask about like trying to hedge and everything. But UConn, I mean, I get to see them in person every year when they come to Cincinnati to play Xavier. And when I got to see them on New Year's Eve, they are tough. And this reminds me of the teams that Hurley had when he went back to back. I've seen them. This is the 5th or 6th year in a row I've seen them here. These teams look good. They are well-rounded. They have athletes all over the court. They have the depth that they need. I really like UConn this year.
Yeah, I do too. I'm very high on UConn, and Iowa State's got the 3rd shortest odds, and you mentioned them. Do you think they would need to win the Big 12 in order to have the path to get to the Final Four of the national championship, or do you think they're going to come in good enough to go as a 2 or a 3 seed?
I think they'll be good enough as a 2 or a 3 seed.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to get battle tested night in and night out in the Big 12. They're going to come in probably with a couple extra losses than some other teams and a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. I think they have the talent to get there. Absolutely.
Well, we know who Vol Truther's not going to put his money on.
I won't say Tech then. I'll leave that one out. Tech's interesting for me. Sorry, Rick and Matt. I don't know if I'm ready to pick them to win the title this year.
Yeah. It's funny because I think I'll speak for me. I can't speak for you because I don't remember, but I was hesitant to get on that train about this time last year. It took some time before we got, closer to, conference tournament time before I really started drinking the Texas Tech Kool-Aid. And they haven't been as dominant as what I thought they were going to be coming off that season into this season, especially with the way they're throwing bags of money around down there. So that'll remain to be seen. You mentioned one other thing before I let you go. You mentioned Houston as a contender. We got our get back with them from last year, earlier in the season. Obviously, that win is going to propel Tennessee and make Tennessee look good as long as Houston keeps playing the way they're playing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How good is this Houston team? Because they are a bunch of grown men out there amongst boys. Are they going to be able to make a deep run again this year?
I mean, absolutely. You talked earlier about the Ken Palm top 20 and top 30 on offense and defense, respectively. They're 27-7 right now. So they have those national title type of metrics right now. Yeah. And like we've talked about with the freshmen, they're going to get better. This is not the best that we're going to see this team look. And that win's going to age like fine wine for you guys down in Knoxville. And I think this team's national title could.
Okay, cool. Because it's unfortunately we got spoiled with Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Meshack and even Jordan Gainey. Just the team just doesn't look like what we're used to seeing with the lockdown defense, taking care of the ball, things like that, free throws. So I think we're going to need some help down the road. So it's good to know that some of these teams, even Louisville, that we've kind of put away non-conference, will help us and maybe get us a decent path to try to make a run when that time comes.
Yeah.
So, Hunter, before we go, please let us know, how can we find you on all of the media that you're on, and maybe give us a little bit of what to expect or what kind of schedule you have. I know you mentioned you put the bracket out on Mondays, so we'll be looking for that. Where can we find you, and what should we look for?
Yeah, so NKY Bracketology or Sansom Sports Media, if you type that into any social media, I should be the first one that comes up. It's always going to be the same logo that's on the header of this podcast. It's going to have that basketball with the Cincinnati skyline on it. So that's how you can find me. Literally YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, any of those. Schedule wise, Mondays are going to be bracket days. I also run a top 25. If you want into that, please just reach out to me and I'll make sure that you guys get the Discord link and we'll get you in there. But those come out on Mondays. I'm dropping new conference tier lists that are going to come out starting next week. So I haven't finalized which conferences or which day, but every day there'll be a conference tier list to talk about. And then I'll be down in Knoxville on the 7th for your game against Vanderbilt. Pretty excited about that. Have some other games lined up here for some of the Power 5 teams, but going to catch as much hoops as I can and see what happens. Make sure you guys give me a follow and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, any type of college basketball fan at all, Vol fan and otherwise, you got to follow Hunter, man. He knows his stuff. He puts out great content. So follow him on all of the channels. Subscribe. Do you have a website, right? Is that a subscription thing or
nope,
newsletter kind of
free.
thing? No.
If you subscribe, everything will come to your email. I do a daily game preview and kind of recap article that comes out every morning. So if you subscribe, it'll be there.
All right, perfect. Well, y'all give Hunter all the love. Sign up for all this stuff. Eventually, he'll have like T-shirts and koozies, I'm sure. So, Hunter, again, my friend, phenomenal job. Thank you so much for coming on here and educating us and sharing all of your knowledge and insight. And really look forward to doing this again and maybe the not so distant future. We've got we'll have some tournament time coming up, so hopefully we can get together again. But again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Everybody go follow Hunter and let's go.